What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the S Room Podcast. I'm your host, Skyler Wright, and today we have Justin Donne that is going to be talking with us today about what he does and some really good information. So hopefully you enjoy. Justin, welcome on.
Thanks, Skyler. Nice to be on.
Yeah. We're just going to be asking you some simple questions. Hopefully we don't stress you out or anything. So.
If you stress me out, I'll let you know.
I guess you will, and feel free to. So my first question to you is, what do you consult in? I know you are a consultant, but what do you consult in?
Yeah, because a lot of people need to know that, because I'm not a medical consultant. I'm not a, animal consultant. I don't deal with people's emotions and consult with, separations or divorce. So I consult in business strategy. So that sounds like a really broad subject, but basically, to make it a little bit simpler, I have my own proprietary processes that I've proven over a long time now, that so I don't borrow them from someone else. I didn't learn them in school. I just kind of observed what works, and under fire, I put together what works, as opposed to learn something and then see whether it works or not. So I found what works and then put it together. And it helps somebody who has a business to figure out how to define, number one, how to define any issues that's going on in the business. I call it performance or productivity problems that are blocking the achievement of the business's goals, whatever those goals may be. Once that's done, then we move into designing the ultimate strategic plan for the business, because there's a huge difference between tactical planning, tactical things like a to-do list or things we need to do to execute a strategy, and the actual broad strategy. And I find that most people are doing tactical stuff, and I haven't seen a strategy in a great many years. I'm like, well, it's a great plan, but that's not a strategy. That's a tactic. That's like, how do you do something? So that's the second thing that we do. And it's really, really important. And then the third thing is almost just as important as the other two, because the best plans in the world that are poorly implemented won't get you the greatest results. That makes sense, right? Yeah. So the last thing we do is to deploy your talents to work for you. So I've got another, proprietary process. They all have their little names and gimmicks so that they're easy to remember. And it's basically 7 secrets to make sure that nothing slips through the holes in the net, nothing falls through the cracks. So you never have to say, I missed that, I overlooked that. It just kind of, oops. And it's really interesting because most people think you can't do that. And I can prove to you that you can do that. You can make sure that nothing is ever overlooked once you've done the other 2 steps, of course. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. It's kind of how I do it and why I do it.
Right. So again, thank you for explaining what that involves. It seems like it involves quite a few, but you broke it down, so that's always nice, in a nutshell. Is there any other important details, real important details, that me and my viewers should know about?
About what? About me, or about?
Really about what you do, your strategies, how you broke it down. Is there anything we should know in depth?
Well, the first thing is probably the most important thing, because the biggest mistake that I see people doing is selecting the wrong target and then developing a strategy around that. And it could be a beautiful strategy, but it's actually the wrong target. Because think about it this way. You heard the saying, don't fix what ain't broken, right?
Yeah.
So why would you go ahead and meddle or interfere or tamper with what's already working? So it's really important not to do that. So the very first step that I do with people, that define step, if you will, is we do a process that I developed called Look Beyond. And I teach people a very, very simple process that they can do on their own. I can do it with them virtually, or I can walk into their office and do it with them. And it makes sure that they don't mess with the stuff that's already working well in their business. But it does another thing that's really important, and that it uncovers those previously hidden solutions. So the stuff that people sometimes say, oh, that was obvious. Why didn't I think of that? Well, no problem. That's why you hire me, and that's why they pay me the big bucks, because it may be obvious now, but it obviously wasn't obvious for you for the last 10 years because you've been screwing it up and fixing the wrong thing. So here we go. We don't fix what's working, and we also uncover those solutions that may have been staring at you in the face, and they were, but you never actually selected them. So that's really important for people to know. And it's really important to do before you start worrying about designing any kind of strategy, because you could be wasted. And I've seen this in a really famous charity I've worked with that's actually started by Prince Charles, you know, the famous member of the royal family.
Yeah,
and
I've
he
heard.
had a charity. Wonderful work they do. But he had nothing to do with this mistake. But for 10 years, they kept trying to fix this problem. They had 10 years, right? That's a lot of time. That's a lot of wasted effort. That's a lot of failed targets in the business. And it's because they're designing all these beautiful strategies, these marketing things, these all kinds of stuff. And all of it was really good and well done, but it was the wrong target. They were meddling with the stuff that was working really well, no reason to change it. And the actual things that needed changing went unchanged for 10 years straight. So that's a real example, by the way, but it's so important that that's done before the other two steps. So I don't want to teach anyone the second step or the third step, because then what'll happen is the results they'll get results. Don't get me wrong. Like if you only do the last thing or you only design a wonderful ultimate strategy, you'll get results. But if you do all three and you do them in order, then you watch out. You got to really watch out, because it will really exponentially increase the business. It could double, triple your business. I've seen it happen time and time again. And that goes for a tiny little startup like one-man band. It also goes up for global corporations that I've worked with. So it doesn't matter the size of the business. If you actually put the formula together and get it right, we're talking explosive growth. But if you don't get it right, it's actually okay, because you just do one of the things, you'll get results. You won't get those wow results that I kind of like to get and pride myself on. So I would really stress the importance of, before you do anything, you know, putting your heads together, that we do that first thing.
Right. And do you guarantee or not guarantee that your results will pay off?
So that's also a really good question, because I am of the belief and faith that you guarantee your results. So I don't do work that I can't stand behind and guarantee. So I will not say to people, oh, I'll run your social media for you. I'm good with social media, but I can't guarantee results with that. I'm not an expert in social media marketing and management. So I only believe in doing things where I can guarantee my results. I'm also of the belief in the unconditional guarantee. So there's lots of ways that you can design a guarantee, and there's strategies behind that, and certain very famous teachers and marketers and mentors will teach different ways of creating a guarantee or an offer. But my belief is to just have it be unconditional guarantee. And people say, well, Justin, what if somebody decides to take advantage of you and, you know, they're getting great results, but because you're unconditional, sort of no questions asked, they say, I want a refund. And then you just give it to them. I'm like, well, that's okay, because then it becomes their problem. It's their karma. It's their conscience. It's not mine, because that way I never have to worry about not getting someone a result, because I guarantee the results. And if they're not happy, that's okay. They can have their money back. I don't even need to know why. They can tell me, but I don't need to ask questions, so that people don't have to feel shy about asking for it. And do you know what? In 27 years, I haven't had a failure yet. So I think I'm pretty good with that. And the number of people that have asked me for their money back as of today, never know the future, is this many. 0. So I've never had anyone take advantage of me. Luckily, knock on wood, you know, that's a blessing. I realize that because there are people out there that might want to take advantage, but I'm also pretty good at not working or attracting those kind of people to come and work with me. So for any of your listeners who might be tempted to take advantage of me, well, don't do that. So it's just a thing, because that would sort of break my track record. But so far, I've been very lucky not to have anyone take advantage of that. So of all the people, the businesses that I've worked with, I have not had a failure yet.
Well, that's awesome, and that's 27 years, right? That's a long time. So
It's a pretty good
now,
streak, I think.
I think it is very good streak. Now, when you meet with someone, say I'm a first-time client, do you have multiple meetings with them? Do you have one meeting with them? How's the process work?
Yeah, and that's also a really good question. So first and foremost, I'm not cheap. So I'm not a $60 an hour consultant. If you want someone who's going to deliver you a generic service and be like $100 an hour, grab the phone book or do a Google search. You'll find someone like that. I'm quite not the highest paid, but I'm in the middle, which is really expensive because private consulting is expensive in general, as you can imagine. And so, number one, that kind of filters out some people right at the get-go. So, but the other reason that I get the satisfaction is because I don't want to be a generic service provider. I don't want to be sitting there chasing people for their money and sending them an invoice and then, 30 days later worrying about where's the invoice. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to be a collections agent. I want to spend my time worrying about my clients or caring about my clients, because I see myself as a caring teacher. So I want to spend my time doing that. So I only work with people that I can become friends with. Not that I become friends, not that we spend each time in each other's houses and go on dates together, but it's just that there's the potential there. So I like to have people that are open to spending time with me, not wasting time, but spending time, investing that time with me. So generally in a first meeting that we have, I ask a very specific set of 5 questions in a very specific order as well that are designed, they're coaching type of questions. I'm not a coach. Coaching is a skill set in consulting, which is a bigger word. And I don't even really see myself as a consultant. I see myself as an advocate for my clients. So I fight for them. I defend them. I see myself as a champion for my clients. I promote them all the time. If you check out my social media or you know me personally, you'll know that I'm constantly talking about various clients that have different products that I endorse, like Push Chocolate, if you like vegan chocolate and you happen to be in the UK or wherever you are in the world, I tell people get OcuShield because protect your eyes and your skin from the junk light emanating from your device. So anyway, I'm not here to sell different clients of mine, but I am their champion. I am their advocate. And I also like to think that I'm their masterful thinking partner. And so, but in order to do that, in order to be able to think together in that way, I need to kind of get to know them more than just, oh, here's a questionnaire and let's, tell me about your business. I need to get to know them as people. I need to get to know them as humans, and they need to get to know me too, so that they can open up to me and so that they can tell me what's really going on. I happen to be a pretty good human lie detector. So when something more is going on than meets the eye, I'm pretty good at figuring that out, but I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So we spend a good time in a first sort of introductory get to know you session, with maybe a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee if we happen to be in the same city. Then, and I ask those specific questions and we get to know each other on a level. And of course, that's when I'm doing all my reconnaissance and intelligence gathering about the person and the business and what potentially I need to address. So I don't even start the whole, system I told you about with the look beyond method and then the strategic design and all that in the first session. That's reserved for later sessions that we do together, and whether or not someone works. But then the other thing is it also depends on whether somebody is working with me for one session or multiple sessions, or because some people, they might need to spread it out, or they might not be able to afford a full, one-on-one with me, then we can work with people of different budgets as well. So sometimes I work with people on almost like a subscription basis, where I'm kind of like on retainer for them, retainer like a lawyer would be, where, so I'm not your employee, but you do pay me every single month because I'm on the other end of an email or whatever social media thing, like a Signal or a Telegram or whatever you want, but I'm on the other end and to answer your questions as they come up. And quite a lot of people find that to be valuable and affordable. Again, it's not cheap, but it's very affordable in the sense that they get to ask questions when the questions come up without worrying about booking. Because if someone wants to book with me, I've got my calendars, you can't book with me for tomorrow or next week. It's pretty much a couple months in advance. So rather than wait, a lot of people choose to do that. And that also gives them access to my network, because I'll tell you this, if I don't know the answer to something, because I'm not pretending like I know all the answers, even though my podcast is called Justin Answer, that doesn't mean that I have all the answers. But I can virtually guarantee that I know who to go to get the answer. Within my network, I have, for example, some amazing people, and I'm not going to name drop them because that's not what this is about, but I have the guy who invented the tracking pixel and the ebook and various things like that. Now, you can imagine what kind of futurist and genius that individual is. Now, that's not to say that he's my best friend and I can just drop him a message and he'll answer all your questions, but the knowledge I have access to. I also have access to the world's highest paid copywriter. This is a guy that if you want him to write your website for you, you better cough up $1 million. Now, I'm not that expensive. And again, he's not like my best friend that I can just, message on WhatsApp and he'll give you all the answers. But again, that knowledge, that mentorship, you can have vicariously through me. And those are just two examples. I also happen to have somebody on my team who has 2 PhDs and a 180 IQ. Now, this gentleman happens to be very shy. He happens to be someone you will probably never get to meet or talk to because he's quite quirky and like many geniuses of that level, because 180, let's face it, that's a higher IQ than Einstein had. He's quite not the people person, but I don't want to sound like I'm mean or judgmental because he's an amazing individual as well as a genius, and he's on my team. So behind the scenes, it's not just Justin. It's a small team of people, including some real geniuses there that will help answer your question. And people find that valuable beyond even the, I would much rather have people sign up for a couple sessions and then take their money and have them go away. But the subscription thing works for a lot of people because that way I've got a question about la. I don't know what to do. Well, for example, I don't know where to start. I want to launch this new business. I want to get this venture going. I'm exploring this. I really want to do it, but I don't even know where to start. Well, I can help you with that, with where to start when you don't know what to do. Or I don't know what to do about my marketing or deploying my social media. Well, again, I'm no social media expert, but at my fingertips, I have some of the world's greatest experts in those areas and other areas as well. So for me, that's something, almost a gift, because it's not exactly what people are paying for, but it's something that they absolutely have access to because, you can't get around to it. There are people who are my friends, my contacts, my connections, and people get access to that. So the journey of working with me just depends on where someone is on their own journey, whether they want one session with me or whether they want to have me on an ongoing basis, or let's say they can't afford my full